Stetson Bennett, now a Heisman Trophy finalist. A lot of the main metrics for quarterback statistics, he's not in the top 10. I think he's 27-1, though, as a starter. You look at what Michael Penix Jr. was able to do and Hendon Hooker and some guys who had bigger numbers. What are your thoughts here on Stetson Bennett being a Heisman finalist?
I like that he's a Heisman finalist. I don't think he has the numbers to win it. My thing is, okay, I view the Heisman as the best player on one of the best teams. Not necessarily the number one team, or that just means the number one guy on the best player on the number one team would always win it. But the best player on one of the best teams. Stetson Bennett is a great player, especially right now. He's not the best player on Georgia. He's not, when it comes down to it. Georgia could win without Stetson Bennett. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying that everybody could do it. Georgia fans, don't mistake me. But Georgia could win without Stetson Bennett. I feel like when you look at Caleb Williams and even Max, those numbers are Heisman worthy. Those are Heisman winning numbers. Without Caleb Williams, USC is probably 7-5. Maybe even worse. All right, Caleb Williams is the best player on that team. I could say Max Duggan is the best player on TCU's team. I could make that argument, and his numbers are Heisman worthy. I think right now it is between Max and it is between Caleb. Those are the two. It's between those two. So which one carries more weight? Better numbers, which Caleb has, not by a million, but from a passing yard standpoint, he has a decent amount more than Max. The touchdowns are somewhat close. But Max is going to the college football playoff. I think if Max would and TCU would have won the Big 12 championship, Max Duggan would win the Heisman.
Let me ask you both this. If Stetson Bennett were a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, if his name were JT Daniels and he had the same numbers and he still weren't the best player on Georgia's team, but they had the same record, does that change the perception?
No, I think it helps him that he's a walk-on. I think the underdog story helps him more than if he was a 5-star quarterback when it comes to things like this. That's just where I stand on it. What about you?
I agree. Just because you put a 5-star next to him, to me, it's about the numbers. That's what it's about.
But see, if it's just about the numbers, then Bailey Zapp should have won. Then Bailey Zapp should have won the Heisman last year.
Heisman moments, about winning certain games. Caleb Williams is the best player in college football right now, quarterback position-wise. He is. He's probably going to win the Heisman. Max Duggan, great player. He's not going to be anything close to what Caleb Williams is.
But that's not.
Well, yeah, you can't give it.
I'm not projecting this on who's going to be better in the NFL. That's not the award. Again, what do you value more? You talk about Heisman moments. Well, Max is about to play in the college football playoff. He still has a chance. Now, I know when they give out the award and stuff like that, it's impossible because one goes before the other. But Max led his team to the college football playoff. Caleb, it's hard. I'm going to be honest with you. It's hard for me to give the Heisman to a guy that lost to the same team twice. It's just, to me, I think that means something. It may not mean something to other people, but not only did you lose, and I know you can't play defense, but you didn't. I know your hamstring was a little messed up in that conference championship game, but you didn't play great. You missed a lot of receivers.
You threw 340 yards.
Yeah, you also threw the game-losing
So did C.J. Stroud against Michigan. Yeah. Both years.
He also threw 2 picks, and they got drugged.
Caleb Williams threw a pick and missed a ton of
You can't go through the season of Caleb Williams and say that this man does not deserve the Heisman. How? In what way does Caleb not? Because he lost to a team twice? Because you have a historically terrible defense
in the
playoff?
USC?
Just because you didn't make the playoff doesn't mean you don't deserve to win the Heisman.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you're wrong.
I think it matters.
Robert Griffin III won it with 3 losses.
Yeah.
Team. And we asked earlier in the season, what's the most amount of losses you can have? I'll ask you the same hypothetical about Stetson Bennett. If Caleb Williams had the exact same year that he has with all the numbers and USC were 6-6 and barely bowl eligible, do you stand by the same statement?
If you lose 6 games, no.
Okay,
because if anything, Bijan Robinson should be in the Heisman Finals.
So
with the numbers that he put up, and they lost 3 games.
So what is the minimum amount of what is the maximum?
I would say 3.
But see, and that's subjective because there's not a rule. It's not a Heisman rule on that.
Let me ask. A lot of it when it comes to
let me ask you this:
but that would help,
what was
right?
USC's best win?
UCLA. Wouldn't it be UCLA?
Where did UCLA finish? What, 18th in the college football playoff?
Was that Caleb Williams' fault? Does he does the schedule? I don't.
No, but you still play the teams you play.
18th.
Just because I go out here, if I go out here and get jumped by a person that's half my size, then I have to defend myself.
What's Georgia's best win?
Oregon.
What's Oregon right now?
Tennessee's a good win.
What's
Tennessee's a good win.
Yeah, I mean,
Tennessee's 6.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, true, but does Stetson Bennett win that game, or did
Oregon's
Georgia give up 1 touchdown against the best offense in college football?
It's just, it's a
we
weird.
can't- we
it is-
can't- we're not
it
talking
is
about
a
Stetson
weird
Bennett.
Put down
year.
Caleb Williams.
No.
We can't put down Caleb Williams because he
Why are you
plays
talking
in the
about Stetson
Pac-12.
Bennett? Why are you talking about
But it is a
Stetson Bennett?
weird year though, because we saw Caleb Williams had that. He had that sort of Heisman moment in the first half of the conference championship, or even against Notre Dame. He's busting out the pose. It seems like, okay, it really is going to be his award. And then you get blown out in the second half of the conference championship and lose to a same team twice. You're not going to make the college football playoff. All of a sudden, the attention turns to Max Duggan in his conference championship. He has over 100 yards rushing on one drive with the penalties, which was incredible. Everyone's like, this is his Heisman moment. They don't give him the ball on 4th and inches. They lose their conference championship. It was sort of deflated on both ends.
Well, I
Who's
think
the most valuable player to their team?
Well, like Jake said earlier in the year, you could say Drake May is too, but he's not even there. Or you said for a large part of the season that Bryce Young is, and I didn't necessarily disagree with you.
Well, I think Bryce Young had a better year this year than he had last year with the talent that he had around him this year than the talent he had around him last year.
But he threw for 2,000 fewer yards and 20 fewer touchdowns,
Yeah, you
and that
can't say
matters.
that.
Right?
Yeah, it does matter.
And I think the same thing about C.J. Stroud. And I said this, I had C.J. Stroud at the top of my Heisman list until the Northwestern week, right? And he threw for like 75, 85 yards against Northwestern. And the narrative was, well, it was sleeting, it was snowing. He still found a way to win. Let's see what happens against Michigan. Still threw for a lot of yards against Michigan. They don't win the football game. And he threw for fewer yards and fewer touchdowns than he did a season ago. It's very hard to give the Heisman Trophy to a guy that didn't perform as well as he did last year when he didn't win it.
Hey, everybody, what's up? Make sure you take a little time today and subscribe. Turn that notification bell on. Follow all our content. We're pushing out, getting ready for college basketball season as well. We got you covered like a warm blanket in a blizzard.